Welcome back. We're going to talk about points 3 and 4 under our category Ultimate Concern here. Religion involves human experience of the ultimate. You might call it God, the transcendent, the holy, the sacred, the spirit, whatever. Human experience of the ultimate could be anything. Well, it puts ideas in our mind of hearing a voice from heaven or maybe some miraculous miracle. But most of us, when we think of experience of God, aren't really thinking about miracles. Could be, maybe in the last couple weeks of your life, all of a sudden, as a result of the prayers of you and your family and your church, you go into remission and never again have a relapse and live, many more decades. If you're a religious person that was praying for a miracle, then you would certainly consider that to be God intervening in your life. For some people, human experience of the ultimate can simply be acceptance by a community that validates them and their worth and their contribution in a way that they've never felt before, adds new meaning and purpose to their life. That can be human experience of the ultimate as well. So rather than talk about all the different ways we can think about religious experience now, we'll talk more about that later, I want to make the point that human experience of the ultimate does not necessarily require that the human experiencing the ultimate has a correct or extensive understanding of the theology of the religion they belong to. In fact, the vast majority of people that belong to any religion know very little about the foundational theologies of that religion. But that does not in any way prevent the religion from being effective in their lives, answering their questions of ultimate concern, giving them some sense of direction, bringing meaning and purpose into their lives, giving them a sense of belonging. You don't need a lot of theological understanding to experience these benefits. Sometimes I'll have students that kind of look at me with this smug look like, yeah, maybe those people in those other religions don't understand what they believe, but we're Christians. We know what we believe. No insult to Christianity. But sometimes I'll tell a story just to kind of break us free from this illusion and give us some humility. Beautiful little girl, 8 years old. Parents are good Christians, go to church all the time, believe their daughter's going to grow up to be some kind of blessing to the world, are grateful to God for their daughter. And one day a drunk driver runs her down as she is playing in her front yard. Little 8-year-old girl run down by a drunk driver, and the parents are devastated. And so pastor comes to talk to those parents who are devastated and try to help them navigate their way through this crisis, this tragedy in their lives. So let's imagine two different pastors coming to talk to them. They're both Protestant pastors. The first comes and says, it's impossible to understand God's will. I know how hard this is to understand. Why would God want this to happen? And yet the wisdom of God is higher than our wisdom. The righteousness of God is beyond our righteousness. We cannot know the mysteries of God's will, but we have to trust that God knows what he's doing. Second pastor. This pastor comes to comfort these people and says, I know you're devastated. I know you're feeling a pain you've never felt before. And God knows it too. In fact, God feels everything you feel, feels it even more deeply than you do. He experiences all of your pain, all of your suffering. And he sympathizes with you, and he's going to give you great comfort. And he has your little daughter in his hands right now. And I want you to know this was not his will. This is evil at work in the world, but he will make this right, and he will comfort you. Wow, these two pastors have two very, very different understandings, don't they? Can you see these are radically different theologies? One is saying we have to trust the wisdom and righteousness of God's will, and the other is saying God's heartbroken about this like you are. This wasn't his will, but he'll make it right. Okay? One of the pastors was a Methodist, and one of the pastors was a Presbyterian. Can you tell me which one was which? If you can, congratulations. It is very rare that one of my students pops right up and can tell me the answer to this, and many of them have sat in church their entire lives. My point is not that your religion is not adequate or, it's not working in your life. In fact, it may be working in your life. You may be a wonderful person. My point is that it isn't necessary to understand all of the foundational theological concepts of your religion for your religion to work in your life in positive ways, answer your questions of ultimate concern, give you meaning and direction in your life. Okay? You'd really like to know the answer to the question, wouldn't you? Okay, the first pastor that came was a Presbyterian. The second one was a Methodist. We call the Presbyterian a Calvinist. We call the Methodist an Arminian. And since that's not the point of my lecture right now, I'm not going to get more into it. But, again, you don't have to understand all the mysteries of the theology of your religion to have a positive human experience of the ultimate in your life, whether you think of it as a personal God or something else. I'm going to tell you another story. This is a true one. Fortunately, the little girl got running down by the drunk driver in her front yard. I mean, I'm sure it happens all the time, but I made that one up. This one's true. Many years ago, I lived in California. I knew a single mom named Renee. She had 2 kids, and obviously was very concerned with trying to provide all of their needs, and it was difficult being a single mom. As long as I'd known her, she'd been going to a non-denominational Protestant church that taught her that God loved her children dearly, so much she couldn't even comprehend how much God loved her children, much more than she did, and that she could trust God. And she loved that teaching, obviously. I mean, what single mom wouldn't? And then I hadn't seen her for a while, and I heard a rumor she'd started going to a Mormon church. Now, you may know that, some conservative Protestant denominations and the Mormons have some significant doctrinal differences. And I was kind of puzzled because Renee did not seem like a theological person that would be getting involved in the theological debates between Mormons and other Protestants. But I found out later on it had nothing to do with theology. The reason Renee started going to the Mormon church is because they started picking up her children from school while she was still working and taking the children to their daycare center, which was wonderful, by the way, and then bringing the children to her home after she got off work. They took her shopping on the weekends to make sure her refrigerator and her pantry was full, took her children to regular doctor checkups and dental checkups free of charge. Now, try to explain to Renee theologically why she shouldn't be going to that church. Renee doesn't care about anything to do with the theology. She doesn't care about Joseph Smith or the angel Moroni or gold tablets or anything else, per se. What's her ultimate concern? Her children. And if she believes in a God that loves her children even more than she does, then it makes perfect sense for her to decide to be a part of the religious community which, in practice, has demonstrated the love of God for her children more than any other religious group she's ever seen or belonged to. God bless you in the Church of the Latter-day Saints, Renee. Make sense? So, let's always remember this. If we want to know what it's like to be someone else who is a member of another religion, we have to see it through their eyes. We have to understand their experience of life. Just studying theology is not going to help us with this, okay? Certainly we want to understand theology. We want to understand the historical situations where different beliefs developed or diversified or whatever. But in talking about common ordinary people and what it's like to be them in their religion and how it works in their life, human experience is going to be the most important thing. Number 4, religion promotes and mediates human relationship to the ultimate, whether you consider that being a connection, being in harmony or peace with the ultimate, or perceiving it, or if you're one of the religions that believe that humans fell from grace through sin, you might be thinking in terms of reconciliation or atonement, or coming into submission to God. But whatever it is, whatever kind of connection you're trying to accomplish with God, it is religion's job to help you accomplish that, to promote the benefits that harmony with the ultimate is going to produce and help you know how to accomplish that. We're going to move on now to the next section, and it's on still on the features of religion, but this one is called a higher order. All right, we'll see you there.